Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Today is July the 6th. Still in San Antonio, and I'm actually inside today because I did not want to have my phone get overheated by the sun like it did yesterday at the Alamo. And I didn't want to get rained on, I didn't want to sweat, didn't want to have bugs, which are the perils of being in Texas in July, but it's been unusually raining here and cooler than normal, so I can't complain. So welcome everybody as we get ready for the weekend. Almost seems like we've already had a weekend a couple days ago because of the 4th of July here in America. So it's been a nice day off for most people on Wednesday. And here we are, Friday already. So welcome everybody to going to be a good topic today, I believe, because there's a lot of people that have asked me this question over the last, several months, is how do you know when you've truly been delivered? And I can't wait to talk about it. So let me share this with some of these groups and we will get started. So everyone, hopefully you're ready for a great weekend as we are hitting the summer months here in the United States at least. All righty, I think that's good enough. So welcome everybody. Welcome to Friday, Fun Friday. Hello Tina Marie, hello Annette, hello Mary, hello Michelle. So yesterday I got some work done on my car, got my oil changed so I can drive another 5,000 miles, 4,000 miles. And they said that everything checked out good, so I like that. I like to hear that. I will be leaving tomorrow morning very early, maybe 4 a.m. to drive 17 hours to Campbellsville, Kentucky. So this will be my longest drive ever. I did that back on September, 21st, 22nd of last year. And it was the longest drive of my life. And so I'm going to do it again. I like adventures. I can't wait till the day that I'm going to start flying again, which I believe will be, maybe by the end of this year. Another one wants me to go out to the West Coast to do a tour out there for several months. And the value of having my car is that I can, at the moment's notice, go from wherever I need to another place without having to continue to pay for a rental car. And so that does ultimately save on costs, as the Lord wants, these towns and cities and regions to be made aware of these spirits and how much they are controlling people and hurting people and ruining marriages and ministries and so forth. So anyway, I had a great time last night. Got to go with the greatest family in America, I call them, to Smoky Mo's Barbecue and to get some more barbecue brisket. I'm getting brisketed out, though. I'm ready to start eating more salads. I did have a salad yesterday for lunch, so I'll let you guys know. But I've had brisket something like, 5 days of the last 8. And so, and then I got to have some more frozen yogurt. Again, you can't get fat, I'm pretty sure, when you eat yogurt, right? It's like non-fat. So when you end up piling on a bunch of candy bars and M&Ms and stuff, you can't get fat from eating frozen yogurt, I don't think. That's at least what I'm going to go with. So anyways, I'm excited about tonight. Going to be doing a deliverance here at the home of the greatest family in America. It's looking like there's going to be lots of people here, so it's exciting. July the 6th will be at 7 o'clock tonight. And if you need the address, you can check it out on the website and Facebook. So anyways, so today's topic is something that a lot of people want to know, is how do you know when you've truly been delivered, from demons? How do you know? The biggest thing the Lord has shown me, and what I've experienced in my own life when I got delivered, again, when I got delivered, it was like I didn't even know it happened. It was like I became a different person overnight. So it's kind of a little bit unique. One day I was basically struggling like everybody else does with maybe feelings of hearing the voices of the enemy and having fear and anxiety and taking an offense and getting angry and things like that. And then like the next day, all of a sudden the Lord's like, hey, you're done. You're ready for your, looking for your next spouse. And I was like, what? Really? Am I? And I became a different person. That's how my deliverance went. But a lot of people, it will take time. There are some that see it instantaneously. But most people, you have to walk it out. So once you have the revelation that maybe I do hear from demons, even though most churches would say, nope, I'm a Christian, you can't have demons. I'm like, really? If that's the case, then why are people in your church getting divorced? Why is that? If they're Christians wouldn't do that. Or would they? Well, if they would, if they hear demonic voices telling them to control and manipulate their spouse and hurt them. So we have to obviously battle that misnomer that's in a lot of the churches. And I know that I would have probably believed and bought into that as well, because it's like, how can you have both? You can't have demons and the Holy Spirit and pray in tongues. Or can you? Of course you can. I've seen it up close and personal. And so yes, you can. Definitely, positively, you can. Because the enemy still has a legal right to torment your soul until you get healed, until you truly look in the mirror at yourself and admit that maybe I do have some of this junk and I need to get set freed. Maybe I have had father wounds and mother wounds, or maybe my grandfather, grandmother were involved in Freemasons or Eastern Star, or, did deliverances, but they had Jezebel at the same time. So all that stuff comes into play. So we have to make sure we break that down of how you get affected and tormented by those spirits. Again, if you don't have peace in your life, then you are effectively hearing the enemy's voice. Now, you could be married to someone that's being tormented by those spirits, and it's very challenging to, of course, then have peace, because they're going to come after you with knives and glasses and scarring your arms and yelling and screaming and being verbally abusive. Again, there could be subtle versions of that where they say, well, I'm not going to let you have intimacy unless you do X, Y, and Z for me. So they can manipulate you in a soft and gentle way. But needless to say, if your spouse is being affected by those spirits, because you will not have peace with them. But what I'm talking about today is, how do you know if you personally are operating in those spirits and if you've gotten delivered from them? So one of the biggest things you'll know and realize when you are freed is that you will be at peace. You will have more peace than you've ever felt before, and it will be consistent. It won't be just an hour, and then the next thing you know, you're being angry and resenting your spouse and trying to get them to apologize for something they didn't do or whatever. So ultimately, peace will be a big thing that you'll see. You'll not hear the voices as loudly as what you heard before either. You'll be able to have your mind rest. And, I didn't even know that I was hearing voices. Most people don't. In fact, I remember counseling a couple that was from Indianapolis, a wealthy couple, just a couple weeks ago. And he told me up front, I don't hear voices. Nope, never hear voices. And then he ends up getting delivered. And then he's like, oh my gosh, I don't hear the thoughts anymore. I'm like, oh, the thoughts? You mean the voices? And he's like, is that what that is? He goes, yeah, I can hear what you're saying. Everything that you're saying, I don't hear the thoughts anymore coming in and distracting me, telling me to say this or that. I'm like, yeah. I go, that's when you get delivered. Those voices are now gone. They're like outside of your house instead of being inside your house wherever you go. And then they're speaking to you and telling you, do this, do that, take offense on this, tell that person this, don't take that, crap from them, blah, 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 blah. Now you're peaceful, and again, I don't hear thoughts from, if I hear a thought from the enemy, and again, we all do, whether we want to admit it or not, but when I hear the thought coming from the enemy, I can now discern it, and I can shut him down within about 3 or 4 words. Why would I let someone who is a demonic spirit speak to me more than 3 or 4 words? Because if I give him a whole sentence to speak to me, it will cause me to lose my peace. It will cause me to take an offense. It will cause me to be mean to somebody else. It will cause me to have fear, false evidence appearing real. So the biggest things you'll know when you have been delivered is that you will be at peace most all of the time. I'm not saying maybe 100%, 100% of the time can be challenging, because you live in a world that's fallen and people will come after you. They will say things to you that will try to hurt you. I have sometimes people will say things about me because they have Jezebel and Leviathan. I've been very shocked and surprised. I've not had a lot worse. And I know God protects me and so forth, so I don't maybe see and hear all of it, but people can generally, when they hear me speak, they can feel the love that I have. Obviously the other thing is that you have to have a humble heart. That's a big telltale sign too that you've been delivered. If you're still prideful, if you're still talking about, how beautiful that I am, how handsome that I am, look at me, look at the money that I have, blah, 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 blah. You should tell me great things about myself, then you're not very humble. And you may have some more humbling to go to be completely set free, because there could be something inside of you telling you that you need to have someone adore you, and you want that affection and blah, blah, blah. So I get that. I understand that if you've never got that when you grew up, if you never received it from your dad, if you never knew your dad, never received it from your mother, that you'll want that, but ultimately you'll draw people in that are not godly, not pure, because then the impure spirit in you will want that, and then the impure spirit in them will want to give it to you. So I actually talked to a woman today that she had a man that was giving her some money and a gift card and so forth. And she was like, you know what, I kind of suspected that he was wanting something in return, like something ungodly. And I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of guys that do that, unfortunately. I can speak firsthand because I am a guy, and I know that a lot of the impure guys out there will try to kiss up to a pretty girl and want something in exchange for a gifting or whatever, and that's so wrong. I said what you can do is you can take the gift, and then you can tell them if they ask for anything more than that, and then say, hello, that is not a godly statement that you just made. That was impure, and you need to get delivered, and so that you can have a pure heart like Christ. So ultimately, when you are delivered, your mind will be at rest. You will have peace. You will be humble. You will be patient. You'll have the fruits of the Holy Spirit. They'll be evident in your life, and people will see that. And you'll be able to discern the enemy's voice. I can pick it up, but there's a lot of people that can't. And you can tell it on Facebook. If they start saying things that are very aggressive and very condemning and very pervasive, that causes strife, then that's the enemy that's within them. If I know there's someone that's doing something they shouldn't be doing, I have to use discernment as to when to speak to them, if at all. Sometimes that person may not receive it, so you may have to give them to the Lord, and then wait. You may have to wait months before they finally come to the realization. Oftentimes people think that, okay, maybe I have Ahab. Yep, I have the Ahab spirit. A lot of people will take that one, but they will not want to hear that they have the Jezebel spirit. And there's a lot of people that do. If you're feeling that you have to control other people and manipulate and win and get your way, then that's the spirit of Jezebel. If you lie and manipulate and twist the truth, that's Jezebel. Pride is Leviathan. So it may take people a long time, if they've been hurt deeply, to get set free from all that. The other thing is that you will not provoke people to get angry and strive. I won't do that. There's times that I know that a person may be not in the right space. They're not godly. They're not behaving the way that they should. But if they can't receive it, then I cannot go after them and try to strike up a conversation to address something until they're ready. And when I do address it, I do it always in love. I do it in you have to do it that way. You can't just come to a person and say, you've got the Jezebel spirit, and sometimes it's tempting to do that because they've been so evil and hurting people that are in the church, and you want to stop it. It is hard. It's a balance to talk to someone, but if you can see them through Christ's eyes, that they were hurt by their dad or their mom, or they were sexually violated, then, and that's the reason why they got those spirits, then you can take out the emotion from it and separate the demon from the person. The other things you'll know that when you're delivered is you will not be selfish anymore. You will not be self-focused. Everyone wants to talk about themselves. Everyone wants what they want. But you will have more desires to help other people and love on other people unconditionally, with not wanting anything in return other than whatever, a friendship, And that's a true friend. That's what you want. You want someone who will love you unconditionally and put your needs and your desires before their own. And I didn't used to be that way. I used to be selfish. I used to want my own way. And again, I didn't know that I heard from the enemy, but I did. So now I can drink a cup of water that has Chuck E. Cheese on it and have no problems. So that's what I get to do when I come to the greatest family in America, is I get to have fun with their cups, because they have really cool cups here, and it makes me feel like a kid. And again, I'll say this too, when you get delivered, truly delivered, the innocence of your childhood that was stolen and robbed comes back to you. And you can see it in a person's eyes. You can see a purity in their eyes that it was not there before. And they have fun. You know, God wants us to have fun. And oftentimes people didn't have fun when they grew up. So you will be pure. That's another big sign that you've been delivered. You'll not have desires to do things sexually, you know, privately. You will not be looking at pornography. You will not be sending messages to women or men that are sexually suggestive. You will not be sending videos of yourself naked. You will not be sending pictures of yourself. That is not a godly person. So, other thing, when you'll notice too, when you're completely delivered, is you'll have a healthy relationship with food and exercising. You know, I've exercised ever since I was, 18, 17 years of age. But I didn't eat healthy food-wise until really around 2009. Actually, that's one of the big benefits with my second wife, is she was very much into the eating healthier food, fresh foods, and so forth. So I didn't know that, you know, there's a difference, but I learned that there was. And I felt much better. I feel really great now, but I can eat brisket like I have been, and I can eat frozen yogurt and not feel guilty about it. You know, I may feel a little heavy sometimes, but I end up exercising every day. I love to exercise. I love it, I love it, I love it. I'm not running marathons anymore, so I'm not driven out of fear, because when my mom died of a heart attack, for those of you that don't know this, my mom died of a heart attack when I was visiting my farm that I grew up on. She lived on the farm, and she suffered it. We got there on a Friday with my family. We went camping, and then on Saturday morning, she started having the heart attack, and I was with her as she took her last breaths, as I prayed in tongues. I thought she was breathing at the table and just having she was crying is what it sounded like, but ultimately she stopped breathing, and then I tried mouth to mouth and called 911, and she was gone. But ultimately, you know, I have changed. I'm no longer the Nelson that I used to be, and I have also changed my food habits in eating healthier. And but I'm not running. I used to run marathons because my mom died of a heart attack at age 55. My dad died of a heart attack at age 67. And it drove me initially to run marathons, thinking that, well, that's going to keep me alive because I'll run marathons. But then you hear about people that run marathons that end up dying. So ultimately, with my second wife, I started getting mentored from a guy that taught me about my authority in Christ. And that changed everything in my life. So I was not worried and fearful anymore, having to run, having to, you know, do extreme things, because I want to be in balance. You know, the enemy wants us to get one side here, one side there, either not exercising at all or exercising too much. You know, you need to do everything in balance. And so I love to get up and exercise, but I can do it for maybe an hour or an hour and a half max, and praying in tongues. Same thing. You could like go off the deep end on praying in tongues. Say, I got to pray in tongues 5 hours a day. I got to fast, you know, every day of my life, and then die from not eating, you know. So you want to be in balance. And that's another way that you know that you're delivered, is that you will, and there's people I've met that are in ministry that do not eat healthy, they do not exercise. You know, they need to do that. We need to take care of our bodies. We need to take care of our temple. You know, I think the Lord symbolically had me, you know, driven from where I was at to doing these marathons, and then now eating healthy, because he's prepared me now for the marathon of ministry that I'm going on, traveling here, there, and everywhere. I need to be in good shape. I can't neglect exercising when I'm on the road, because every day I'm on the road. So basically, when you get delivered, you are going to be at peace. That's the big thing you'll see. You're going to be humble. You're going to have more joy, more laughter, more fun. You can help other people that way. You know, we see a lot of people that are helping people in the church that are still wounded themselves deeply, and out of their pain can be giving information, counsel, and guidance and so forth that maybe is not the best for them. You know, and again, we're all growing, all maturing, getting closer to hopefully being like Christ. And I'm a lot different than I was, say, even a year ago. You know, much different than I was back in 2008. I mean, mucho different. Because I didn't even hear the Lord's voice at that point, and I didn't know what I didn't know, but I do know now. So essentially, when you get delivered, how do you get delivered? Again, the Lord showed me that you have to choose to forgive all those that hurt you. If you don't choose to forgive them and truly choose to forgive them, then the enemy has a legal right to continue to stay and torment you, and you'll hear the voices, you'll hear the thoughts come in from the enemy, driving you out of fear, worry, anger, all the stuff that the enemy does. So you have to truly choose to forgive them. And how can you do that if they've hurt you deeply? Is if you can see them through Christ's eyes. So you can ask the Holy Spirit, show me from your perspective why that person did what they did. And when you can see that they were hurt by their dad or their mom, or could have been sexually touched inappropriately when they were 6 years old and never told a soul. You see a lot of that with the men I've worked with, where a guy has been touched inappropriately and it's driven them to completely be a different person their whole life. And they're very mad, they're very angry, they hear the voice of the enemy all the time because they've not told anybody. And it may have never even come up in counseling if they ever go to counseling or a pastor, because it's that voice is saying, don't tell anybody about that, be ashamed about it, feel guilty, blah, blah, blah. So, again, how you get delivered is choosing to forgive. I've forgiven everyone that has hurt me. Again, if my ex-spouse or spouses would walk in the room, I would have no problem going up and hugging them. And it doesn't mean I'm going to marry them, doesn't mean I'm going to kiss them. But again, I don't have any anger towards them. They've done one of them did a really evil, couple really evil things to me, and they're still trying to torment, but they can't do it anymore, thank God. So then once you've done that, then you have to repent and humble yourself from any pride that you have. If you have pride in your heart, which it kind of seems kind of strange. It's like, boy, you get hurt from a father wound or a mother wound. Why would you be prideful? Well, it's that spirit of Leviathan. It comes in because it causes you to not want to get hurt anymore. And then it speaks to you strongly. And so it causes you to believe that what your thoughts are right and everybody else around you is wrong. So when you marry somebody, you look, instead of at the mirror, you look at them, and it tells you to blame them for all your problems, all your pain. And then they don't even see themselves. There's so many people that are blind, they don't even look in the mirror at themselves. I remember Joyce Meyer was speaking at a conference. My ex-wife wanted me to listen to it, so I'm listening to it. And she talks about how a woman had 3 marriages, 3 divorces. And she said, boy, if I just had your husband, Dave, I wouldn't have all these divorces. And she's like, really? She goes, look at the mirror in yourself. Who's the common denominator to all of this? You are. So you need to get yourself healed and look at yourself and in the mirror, which is true. I had to do that with myself. I was more prideful. I was more arrogant. I had money. I didn't need God per se at the time. And then the Lord took it all away when I said I wanted peace. And he did. And he humbled me to the point where I had to give plasma, wait in line for hours to give my blood to earn $75 a week. It's a very humbling process that I went through. And I remember sometimes I would get up on a Sunday morning at 5 in the morning and get in line at 6 or 6:15 on a very cold Sunday morning in January and wait in line for 45 minutes till they open at 7 just so I could give plasma and get back in time to go to church. It was a very humbling process. I thank God that I went through it because I now know it was a good thing. I needed to go through that because as more money comes into the ministry, as this grows worldwide, that I have to make sure that I manage it to the utmost for God and not for my own selfish purposes. So anyways, that was a change that some of us have to go through. If we've not been completely humbled, there may be more humbling that needs to be done. We may need to go through where we have no money left at all. Because when you have no money left at all, then you can only have to trust God then at that point, because nobody else can help you. And it's a good thing. Once we have Christ's heart, then he can pour it back to you, because then you use it for kingdom purposes and not for your own selfish purposes. And then you become strong in the Lord. You become like this statue behind me, which I'm going to show. You become powerful in the Lord. Oh my gosh, this is heavy. I didn't know how heavy this was. You're like this guy who has got a gun. So then when you're strong in the Lord, you got muscles like this guy, and you're not afraid of the enemy anymore. And you can go bang, bang, bang and take him out. And you're no longer in fear. That's another way you're being delivered, is you're not going to have fear anymore. You don't look upon the circumstances of your life where you're at. You get strong in the Lord because you're now, who you should be in Christ, and you're not going to be weak anymore. So it was funny because the mother of the home that I'm at here said, I should take this away, because this will be showing up in the picture. I'm like, no, I want people to see this, because I didn't know exactly why, but now I know why. It's because when you get delivered, you're not going to be in fear anymore. You're going to be powerfully strong in the Lord, who you are called to be, and you're not going to be in fear. So, man, this is heavy. It's probably 10 pounds maybe. So again, that's how you know you've been truly delivered, is that you're going to have fun. You're going to enjoy your life, no matter what the circumstances might be. You're not going to complain. You're not going to whine. You know, I know some people, they get delivered and then they may fall back. They may continue to hear some voices trying to get back in. And then they allow those voices to take over again by going into things that they shouldn't be doing. You know, they could be getting into sin again and allowing the door of the enemy to come back in again. They could be hearing the voices and then keep entertaining those voices. Yes, Milo needs one of those. So essentially, when you end up getting delivered, truly, you will discern when the voices are trying to come after you again. And you won't fall back into the prior stuff you used to do. You know, I know some people in the relationships that they may have had a father or mother that had Jezebel or Leviathan, and they got delivered. But then they couldn't stand for more than a few months of missing being around the control of their mom or their dad. And they wanted that. They wanted to be having a relationship with them. But what they did is they sacrificed their deliverance. They would end up going backwards and tolerating those spirits, and they shouldn't be doing that. You know, what did Jesus say? He didn't come here to just, love everybody and bring them to having all this peace. No, he said, I came to bring division between families, 2 against 3. And you may see that. You may have to, because if you have 3 family members that are aligned with hearing the voice of the enemy, and they've got demonic spirits, then you may have to separate from them. You may have to pull away and have nothing to do with them, because if you do, you're going to get hurt. And if you end up partnering back with them again, then you're basically back and having those demons come back and tormenting you again. So we need to stand and be strong. Same thing with the spouse. I look at my life. The Lord had me. He told me up front I was going to have to go through some pretty extreme stuff. I thought it was going to be for a year. It turned out to be 6 years, and it was awful. I didn't want to go through it anymore. I loved my wife, but I did not want to go through it, because she was constantly berating me and doing some physical abuse and sexual stuff that wasn't cool. So ultimately, the Lord told me, you have to separate. I'm like, I don't want to separate. I'm like, get her delivered from whatever she has so that she can do this ministry around the world with me. At the time, I didn't have any ministry. So the Lord's like, nope, you need to separate. And I'm like, I don't want to separate. He goes, you got to separate because the spirit in her hates you. And so it wasn't until I separated that I really truly started getting freedom and completely from the spirits that were with her in her, so I could have peace. And then I could start the ministry. Had I stayed there in that relationship, it would have been toxic. It would have continued to make me feel emasculated as a godly man. And it would have caused me to not come into the fullness of who I was supposed to be. And I cannot tolerate that spirit. So some of you might be in relationships that are toxic right now, where you love your spouse, they've been very abusive, and by you staying in that marriage, allowing them to continue to abuse you, you are essentially enabling them to keep that spirit. And the Lord may be speaking to you right now saying you need to separate from them, because if you don't, there's nothing in them that has to change. Once you do separate, then guess what? Now you could be set free, because now you can deal on healthy ground with that person that's under the influence of the enemy. And there may be times when you have to separate and you have to stay separated, and they may end up divorcing you. Well, they have a free will, but it's much better to align yourself completely with Christ and with God than with a demon that's inside of a person that you love, because that demon is controlling them. And it may take it to the point where you have to separate to help them see that they do have the spirits in them, and they still may not. It's up to them. They have a free will. Like the Pharisees had a free will. They could choose to keep those demons if they wanted to. Jesus couldn't get them delivered. He couldn't get everybody delivered. They had to want it. If they wanted it, then they would get delivered. They would get set free. They would get healed. A third of what Jesus did was deliverance. So people in the church, how many churches out there are doing deliverance? They need to do this. It is very important to have a pure and spotless bride. So again, you're delivered when you're going to walk around in peace and love and joy and have the fruit of the Spirit. That's when you know that you've been set free. And then people that know you will notice a difference. Your countenance will change. Your eyes, the windows to your soul, you'll see it. You'll see purity in their eyes. You will not see seductiveness if you're a woman. You will not see creepiness if you're a guy. So there are signs that you can see. So But the biggest things is you're going to have more peace. You're going to not be selfish. You're not going to provoke people to anger. You're not going to have anger in yourself. You're going to be humble. You're going to be patient. You're going to have fruits of the Spirit evident. That's when you know you've been delivered. And then you'll have such a great life after that. Again, I know a lot of people that have those spirits in the churches do not want me to come into their church, because if I speak, it may expose some of the stuff in them, and they don't want that to happen. But that's okay, because God is allowing people to have the freedom if they want to, and if they want to keep those spirits, they can, but they're going to be miserable. And the persons that are married to them are going to be miserable. And the kids that they've had, what I see oftentimes too, I see this with parents, that the parents will end up hurting a child so deeply that the child wants nothing to do with the parent. And then the parent will blame the child and say, look how bad you are. And you see with people that have the Jezebel spirit, they will try to divide their own children. They will try to lie about their, do you know what Freddie said? Your brother, he said this about you. And that was a complete lie. And then all of a sudden, Mary gets mad at Freddie, her brother, and has nothing to do with them for years. Who would do that? Well, a Jezebel would do that with the mom and the dad. They do that. I've talked to multiple people that have had that happen, and it's really sad. I'm like, hello, I'm a godly guy. I want my kids to get along. I would never say anything about each other to try to put a wedge in between there. Again, if you have a parent that's really controlling and manipulative, they have to look in the mirror and they have to say, okay, you know what? Maybe I do have this spirit. And then once they get delivered, they can apologize to the children. Then it turns the hearts of the children to the fathers and the fathers to the children, like it says in Malachi 4, 5, and 6. So it's really, really important. And we need to see that. We have to look in the mirrors ourselves as adults and say, you know what, maybe I do have some of the spirit. Maybe I have to take some ownership of why my child does not like me. Because maybe I said some things to them out of anger and fear and out of Jezebel, Leviathan, that controlled them and hurt them. So I need to apologize for that. And when you apologize for that, then the child's heart melts because they really want to have love. They want to feel unconditionally loved. And that's what we're seeing with people that have gone through the Restored to Freedom deliverance, that have gotten truly delivered, is you see families getting set free all over the place. And I'm going to start doing family reunion deliverances in October in Tennessee. How great is that? That's going to be awesome. October the 13th. So can't wait. So anyways, hopefully this is a good word for you guys to understand. Because again, deliverance can be a process, because there could be levels and layers for you to go through. Because you may not want to admit that spirit in you, may not want you to admit that you have the spirit of Jezebel. Again, a lot of people believe Jezebel is only a woman and is a floozy and tries to have sex with everybody and seduces every guy and so forth. Sure, there is a percentage that are like that, but the majority of them are, say, a pastor or a pastor's wife. And you can see it in them because there will be control that they will be wanting to manipulate you, and they'll be prideful. I talked to a guy yesterday. He's a former political guy that was under doing a lot of work with the Bush and Dan Quayle's presidential, when they were president and vice president. And he admitted that there was a pastor that he used to go to, and he was a very prideful pastor. He'd been there for years, very prideful and more controlling, and it got to the point where they had to dismiss him and get him out of there. And when they did that, about a third of the church left and went with that guy. Obviously he had Jezebel and Leviathan. They got a new person in there that's very godly and more pure, and so they have about 2/3 of the church that stayed. So it's divides a lot of people, divides families, divides churches, divides husband and wife, divides kids. And so Christ had come for that, is to get people set free, and to he knew that there was going to be a division. But it says in Malachi 4, 5, and 6, I'm sending Elijah before the great and dreadful day to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children and the hearts of the children to the fathers. And that's what we're seeing within Restored to Freedom, is we're seeing adults get delivered now, and then they can go to their kids and apologize for what they did to hurt them. And then the child's heart opens back up, wants to see that love over time. And over time, they can come back together again. And it's a beautiful thing to watch and witness when we get families that are doing that. So praise the Lord. Hopefully this all makes sense. Again, I'm I'm a former business guy, so I try to, if I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't have results. I wouldn't be doing this if I couldn't explain it. I used to be in sales. I used to be in alliance management, so I was in charge of like bringing our sales teams together between our company, had an internet banking software company I work for, and these banking core processors that had their own sales team. So I had to help them all get along with each other and to love each other and play. And sometimes they were competitive, and so I had to work through issues. So God was preparing me, even in business, for what I'm doing now. Because there's a lot of us that can be taking an offense and get angry and blaming other people and have such a vitriol of hatred within them. And that's another thing is you won't have that when you get delivered. You'll have love. It's, again, a lot of people say, well, let's just love everybody. I'm like, well, you can't really just love Jezebel out of somebody. It won't come that easily. I wish you could. I wish you could just say, just love everybody, give them a prophetic word about how great they're going to be, and then they're going to get delivered. No. You have to tell them the truth, that maybe you're operating in this. And if you are, then you need to look in the mirror at yourself, because God knows if you are, if you're behaving that way behind closed doors. And then they can get delivered. And then it's a beautiful thing. Oh my gosh. Again, how you get those spirits is through father wounds, mother wounds, and sexual violations. It can be through incest, could be through experimentation. You could have been violated, molested, raped, all that stuff will bring in the spirits of Jezebel and Leviathan onto people. And who wants to be tormented? I see a lot of people that are married with these relationships, and the person that has Jezebel wants to control, manipulate, and dominate. And I'm like, really? You think that's going to help a person to love you and behaving that way? No, it's not. It's going to cause them to leave you. And they want freedom from that. So anyways, I'll wrap things up now. So tonight at July the 6th, 7 p.m., we'll be doing deliverance here in Bernie, which is northwest of San Antonio. And then I'm heading tomorrow morning as early as I can get out of here, driving 17 hours to Campbellsville, Kentucky. Ugh. But it's an adventure. I love adventures. So I'm heading to Canada. I'll be in Ontario, Canada next weekend. And July 13th and 14th, I'll be in St. Catharines. Also, now we're confirming I'm going to be in St. Thomas. A lot of saints up there, I guess. Be in St. Thomas, which is west. It's west of Niagara Falls, like, I don't know, a couple of hours. It's east of Detroit, Michigan. It's near some Amish and Mennonite communities. I'll be there to the 21st. They're looking to secure a community hall, I believe, for that. So as soon as we get that done, I'll get that posted. Also, I posted I'm going to be in Montana July the 27th, a Friday night. That's open to the public. The address is on there. The 27th of July, I'll be in Eureka, Montana. Rexford is up in like the northwestern corner of Montana. And then there's a couple other places in Montana looking to get scheduled. Hart, Butte, and some other place. And then I'm going the following weekend after that, I think. Yeah, August 2nd through the 4th, a big conference that's in, where's it at? Spokane, Washington, at City Church. I'm going to be actually talking to the pastor and his wife that have invited me to go to that. So I'm excited to talk with them. They're good friends with Dawn Casanova Lindiger. And it'll be powerful, be very powerful. Be a bunch of people from a bunch of different churches that are coming. So can't wait. St. Thomas is beautiful. Well, it's not the St. Thomas, that's the island, which I have been to. I have taken a cruise there when I used to work for Banker Systems. And I remember going to St. Thomas, nice little island out in the Atlantic. But you're saying, I'm assuming you know where St. Thomas is at in Ontario. So good, looking forward to seeing that. And then anyone else that wants me to come to Washington, to Oregon, to California, to Arizona, between August and September, I'm scheduling those now. And it all comes together sometimes a week in advance, sometimes a couple weeks. So looking forward to doing the West tour. And then I'm coming back to Texas in October, early October. And then going to doing the Tennessee, October 13th for the family reunion deliverance. And God is on the move. So excited. Thank you very much for everybody's support. Thank you for watching. And love you guys. I love the revelation of this and how it is so pervasive in families and churches and business world and everything. So, all righty, I will let you guys go. So again, yeah, if you guys want me to come out to wherever you want me to in California, I've been invited to come to what's the place? I can't think of it now. My daughter went surfing there. Malibu. I've been invited to come to Malibu and LA and some places in Northern California. So we'll get them confirmed. Yeah, there's one up in Chico, California. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. And when you're delivered, your life will never be the same. You will be happier. You will have fun. You will enjoy it. You will not strive. You will not complain. It is good. Life is good. All right. Love you guys. See you later. And also, I'll share this too. We're going to start trying to put my Facebook Lives on YouTube. My good friend Tina Marie is going to start doing that. So it'll be awesome because it just takes time to do that. And I don't have all the time to do this anymore. So looking forward to doing more of these Facebook Lives so they'll be available on YouTube for people so they can watch it wherever if they don't have Facebook. The other challenge people have is when I do these Facebook Lives, some of these are better than others, I'll admit that. But there are some really good ones that you have to like go way back in time to find. And if I posted some stuff about me eating brisket or the Littles walks and so forth, it could take you a while to find it. Whereas on YouTube, it's much faster. So you can go right to it because it's by date. So that'd be another big benefit. So I know the Lord's all over this, getting this done. I'm excited about it. And there's other things God's doing that are just going to allow this to continue to grow more rapidly because as more people hear about this, they tell their family members and friends. So it keeps growing. Every day I get pinged by like hundreds of people. So anyway, all right, I better get off here so I can have a couple of minutes before I get on with another couple of pastors and then another guy I'm doing some ministry with. So, all right, love you guys. Have an awesome rest of your day. See ya. Bye-bye.